Aditya, congratulations on a 720. Really good score. Good improvement from a 650.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, for me, the key to my GMAT preparation was timing, because I would say it's common to most of the Indian students that when our exam is close, we time or we converge on our goals more quickly than others, because we are just tuned to that kind of preparation. So for me, the last 2 weeks were crucial, and where e-GMAT helped me was before e-GMAT, I was struggling, especially with sentence correction. That was the one area where I really did not have any clear strategy in mind. And the emphasis laid out by or put by e-GMAT on understanding the meaning of a sentence really helped me make that breakthrough, that okay, that if a sentence, even if it sounds right, if it doesn't, if the meaning is twisted, or if it has more than one meaning, then maybe I should look for something else, because a correct sentence should not just have the correct grammatical structure, but should only convey one meaning. It should leave no room for ambiguity.
Yes, unambiguous is what we really say, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that was, I mean, I knew it, but just the way e-GMAT structured its lectures, it just helped me conceptualize that very well. And that actually percolated into critical reasoning as well. And I did see my critical reasoning improving because of my understanding of sentence correction, getting better. So in that regard, e-GMAT was a lifesaver. And then I did enroll for I think your
You enrolled for Verbal Online.
yeah. And I think there was a course, not a course, but there was a 300 question worth of a question bank, which you enrolled. Yeah. No, it was only for maths, I think.
Okay.
I enrolled for that, but and that was, I think, during my last few weeks, and that also helped me in maths.
Okay.
But in maths, I already had things going on for me, but mostly, the Scholarium was good, and for me, the biggest improvement that I saw was sentence correction.
Okay. So let's put some numbers to this. So in your first attempt, you had a 650. What was your score split, quant and verbal?
My score was 49 and 32.
49 and 32. In your second attempt, it was also 49 and 40. So Q49, V40.
Yeah.
Did you get your enhanced score reports in these attempts?
Yes, I did.
So
not the first one. I just got the enhanced score for the second one.
So in the second one, what were your percentile scores in sentence correction and critical reasoning and reading?
I have to look at it. Just give me a moment. Well, I don't have it with me right now. I have to download it. But would it be okay if I can just email you the ESR so you can see it for yourself? But I believe that in my second attempt, I think I got, out of the first 30 questions, I think I got around 25 right.
Wow.
Yeah. In my second attempt, and I don't know, I didn't get the ESR for my first attempt, but in my second attempt, I think I gave more time to the initial questions, but not a whole lot more, because we have to time it.
Yes.
But I believed in my second attempt, I had a better understanding of, okay, I'm doing well on my second attempt. So
Okay, that's good.
yeah.
Now, in critical reason, did you try and use pre-thinking?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I tried to see what kind of thinking will strengthen the argument. What would be the reasoning which would weaken the argument. So yeah, I did do a lot of pre-thinking, and primarily due to how e-GMAT prepared me to do that.
Okay, okay. Um, Now let's talk about. I mean, you said in the conversation prior to my starting recording this, you said you work 2 weeks and then you're off for 1 week. So how did you structure your study?
That was, to me, that was my biggest challenge, and that's primarily the reason why it took me so long to get the second attempt. Because my first attempt was in October 2016, and my second was in September 2017, and I had to cancel my exam twice in between. Uh, so when I work for 2 weeks in a row, I usually work for up to 15 to 16 hours a day. So I do not get time to study while I'm working.
So do you work offshore, right?
Uh, yeah, I mean not on the sea, but onshore. It's basically onshore, but I do work on the rigs. I work on oil and gas.
Remote places then.
Yeah. Oh, really remote.
Yes.
Really remote. So I live just outside New York, but most of my work till recent was in remote places in West Virginia and Ohio. Now I'm close to New York. So
Okay, but it's still remote. If you
it's,
have a well, you've got to go remote. I
yes,
visited some of the
absolutely.
places in Louisiana, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I worked in Louisiana and Texas too, and Colorado. So that was the biggest challenge, because even when you are at the job, you would not be left alone to do anything which you are interested
Cannot
in.
be. You need a backup guy. You need two people at
Yeah,
a.
absolutely, absolutely. So for me, what I started doing was making small goals. So and that I started doing more after May or June, because
Give
when
me an
I
example of a small goal.
So, okay, I'll give you an example. So, say for example, I have to finish maybe one section or one chapter of sentence correction, and then maybe do 15 questions through Scholarium,
Scholar.
or maybe do 20 questions of the official guide. Something which will keep me busy on a daily basis so that I don't lose touch, because I scheduled my exam first in January 2017. I had to cancel that, and then in March 2017 I had to cancel that. Both the times I had to cancel because I was called for work, which I was not anticipating. So and then after that I kind of lost my motivation. But then in May I started getting into groove again, and I realized that I cannot just step back, into a full mode of preparation right away. I have to gradually get into a mode where my brain is attuned to it. So I started devoting maybe half an hour to 1 hour, half an hour for maths, and maybe 45 minutes for English, 15 to 20 minutes for maths. And I started reviewing all the lessons. So even if I was done with, say, one e-GMAT lecture, if I have nothing to do, I would just plug in my earphones and just start listening to it again.
Okay.
Yeah. So just listening to those things, and then doing maybe 5 to 10 questions at a time helped me, understand. And then I started making an error log, which was something which I was not doing before. So anytime I did a question wrong, I would just make a note of it, that this is what I did wrong. And
Where would you make this note? I mean, on when you were working, did you have a phone or what was it?
yeah, on my laptop, I just made a Google Doc, and
Okay.
yeah, I made an error log. And then I realized after the error log that the majority of the mistakes which I was doing was because I was not reading the question correctly, either that or the options. And for me, that was 85% of my work. That I either was rushing into the question or I was jumping too quickly to the options. And just attuning my, and that has always been an issue with me, but especially it was especially more of an issue in English. So
There are more words to fault around.
yeah, and with my attention span as bad as it is, so that was a challenge. Uh, but when I realized that I was rushing into it because I was not understanding it, and once it's I think it's a holistic process. Once you get comfortable with the question, then you automatically feel as if you have more time towards evaluating the answer.
So when you say comfort, really what happens is that you get comfortable when you start following a process. When you start following a process, your mind is focused on, when you're reading a question, it's focused on reading a question.
Right,
When you're trying to do pre-thinking, it's focused on doing that.
right.
And when your mind is focused on doing one thing, it doesn't feel rushed.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. It's more about discipline in your mind, if I can call that. So the process of making your mind disciplined comes from understanding what needs to be done. And before e-GMAT, what I was doing was I was focusing excessively on grammar and not on the overall context of the sentence. And just aligning those two really made my task easy. So if I say, for example, a sentence, even if I was not able to grammatically pinpoint each and every mistake, by just focusing on the meaning, I kind of got the idea that okay, these three meaning wise, the other options do not seem right. Option does seem right, so I could focus more of my attention on that one particular option, and then dig deep into that option, and then come up with okay, I'm 90% sure, and 90% is good enough for me compared to others, that okay, this seems like the right option, and then go with it. So when I started doing that more and more and more, I knew that okay, I'm at least progressing in the right direction. So when I went into the exam, I knew math was going right, but I was thinking maybe I'll get a 650, 680 to 700. And you always, I mean, with GMAT, it's a 30 mark.
30-point variance, yes.
Yeah, so maybe it was 690 and I got 720. So I don't know, but
well, the 30-point variance is not essentially. So there are two things to it. One is the 30-point variance there's a luck factor to it. And I'll take an example of the luck factor, which is to really say, let's say in reading comprehension, your ability in business passages is a lot higher than your abilities in passages based on humanities.
Oh yeah, or bio for me.
Or bio for you.
Yeah.
Now, if you get a difficult business passage on the exam, you're more likely to do it correctly.
Absolutely.
Difficult bio passage. So that's the luck factor piece, and which the variance, there's a 30-point variance over there. But then there's also the test ability to narrow down your score.
Yeah.
Just to really say if your ability is, and which is basically when GMAT was designed, they had to draw balance between the number of questions they give you and essentially the precision with which they estimate your ability. And also remember, 25% of the questions are experimental questions.
Yeah, that's true.
So essentially, over there between quant and verbal, there's a 28-point variance.
Yeah. Yep.
So on the verbal side, there's, I mean, I'd say a 14-point variance, not a whole lot. It's pretty precise actually. And the 14-point is up to, so I mean, they do a bell curve around it.
Well, so when you say experimental questions, are those related to new topics that they want you to try?
So you can take the exam every 15 days right now, right?
Right, right,
So for to evaluate you, GMAC really needs to be able to get good starts on every question. As I said,
right,
easy, medium, difficult. The way
right.
they get good starts is they basically put these questions as experimental questions in the prior exams. So you still attempt them and not knowing that they're experimental or not, they get starts on those questions. So,
Okay,
so those questions are not characterized in your exam. The experimental questions for your exam are not characterized to be scored.
okay,
Okay, the algorithm doesn't act upon them when it changes the difficulty level. But after enough attempts are there on those questions, then they are characterized, which is kind of something that we also do within Scholaranium. So you talked about the 300 question Scholaranium package on the quant side that was given
right,
to you. The reason we gave it out was A, to validate the questions, and
right.
B, to get starts on that so that we have our initial hypothesis. This is easy, medium, and difficult, but our hypothesis can be off. And
Uh-huh.
our litmus test is that we need to get at least 150 attempts on a particular question
Right.
before we actually put it in our final product.
Okay.
And it's very similar to what GMAC does. It's just that they have to do it on a continuous basis overall.
Right. Uh, uh, and the one thing which I love about GMAT is it can be worked upon. I mean, it enables you to think about your weaknesses and work on it. It's a very customizable, or it's an exam which can be customized and worked upon. It challenges your problem solving skills, and that is something which I loved about GMAT.
You've
That
taken the GRE as well, so that's why you're making that statement.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but that my GRE was back in 2010.
Yes, it's so the reason, and you're very right. First of all, your inference or your conclusion is absolutely spot on. And the reason, the distinction between actually GRE is very similar to SAT or
Yeah,
ACT, and the reason between this distinction is the purposes of those exams. GRE, when it was during its inception, was designed to be an exam that wasn't biased to people who did well in school. Okay,
okay.
so which is the same thing which was the same thing with SAT. What they really said was, hey, we need a test through which we can prove that the test taker has prepared for it. Okay, but the white test taker should not, because white students go to better schools in
Yeah,
US,
right,
um,
right.
should not have an upper hand against the
The
non-white test.
minorities or others. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and so they really created content which was irrelevant to what's being taught in school at that
Mhm.
time, and be irrelevant to what you would do in the grad school.
Okay, yeah,
Okay. The test was absolutely an assessment of how many hours you prepared, but beyond that, it wasn't testing your abilities in problem solving. It was practically rubbish.
right.
And they say that on GRE's website because they've now redesigned the GRE to be more like GMAT.
Right, yeah.
GMAT,
I mean, and now I heard the format is changed
yes,
because,
there are no word lists right now
okay,
in the
yeah,
same manner that,
yeah,
that used to be there. So GMAT, on the other hand, was designed by business schools. So GMAT, the organization, 5 business schools own pretty much most of the equity or own most of the equity in the organization. And it was designed as an ability exam. And the purpose of this was to really say, hey, students who are entering business schools, do they have the ability to take on the coursework?
yeah.
GRE, SAT, ACT had no such aim.
No, yeah. So GMAT tests you, or they do want to evaluate whether you'll be able to go through the rigors of business school, at least the basics.
It's an ability measurement test,
Yeah, yeah,
whereas GRE, SAT, also the older GRE, the older SAT and ACT
yeah.
were number of hours that you put in measurement test.
Right, 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 right. It's more about how much you can remember and
And how much did you actually study for that particular test?
that particular test. Right.
And it had nothing to do with whether the time that you put in studying would be useful to solve a
Right.
real world problem in the future.
Right. Yeah, and with GMAT, yeah, it actually helped me to evaluate my own weaknesses, and probably that's what B schools prepare you for, to solve challenges.
It's very interesting. So after I was done with the GMAT, I I took my GMAT when I lived in Germany. Came over here. I started reading some legal documents in my job. I used to be responsible for building partnerships. Excuse me. As a part of that, I worked with lawyers. Also,
Right.
as 20% of my job was working with lawyers to build those contracts and make sure.
Right.
And as I read through, I mean, I don't know if you've ever read through a legal contract, but it's a boring 30-page
Yeah.
document. And
Yeah. I just sign at the bottom. I never go through it.
yeah, but when you're doing, $100 million contract, you've got
Yeah.
to
Oh
do,
yeah.
and uh, and essentially, as I read through contracts, I could really see, okay, as those terms were put in, how much of what we use in sentence correction, critical reasoning at a microscopic level comes over there.
Right. Right. Because the fine print makes all the difference. So in a legal document, uh, just it's very important to convey one meaning. It cannot be worded in a way which can be interpreted.
The ambiguity aspect that you're talking about, essentially,
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
should just convey one meaning and one meaning clearly. And sometimes lawyers have a very
Finicky mind. Or
finicky mind and I won't say an ambiguous way, but they want to make something unambiguous, but in the process they write it in a manner that is completely not readable.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, can
Absolutely.
you just simplify this, and why don't we write it this way if that's our intention?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and um, and so it's GMAT's very useful in even in a siloed space such as a legal agreement.
Right.
So, but that's good. So let's talk about your admissions, and congratulations on NUS, not NUS, HEC Paris, UNC, and Rice, and the scholarship from Rice.
Yeah, I mean, I was totally, that was unexpected. But uh, what I was kind of lagging was because I wrote my exam that late.
Mhm.
I was rushed into writing the essays, and
You
uh,
applied in round one.
for Rice, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, all for HEC Paris, I applied in round three. So
Okay.
I
Oh,
actually,
they're round three from 2017.
yeah, right. So I think for me, the deadline for HEC Paris was 15th of December, I believe.
Okay.
And they gave me a decision right around Christmas. So that was a quick turnaround.
So was there any scholarship there or?
No. So I'm not going to accept that offer.
Mhm.
UNC is, they still haven't told me about scholarship. They're saying that they might not.
They're a
Uh,
bit stingy about scholarships from what I know of, yes.
what is it?
They're a bit stingy about scholarships,
Oh
yes.
yeah, they are, and it's expected because UNC has a much larger class size. Plus, they accept way more Indians than Rice does. So it has a
So,
very,
are you on an H1 visa?
yeah, I am. Yep.
Okay, so you are still an Indian then.
Yep. I still have an Indian passport. So
No, if you were a green card holder, you won't be an Indian.
right. Yeah, that I know because when once you fill up the form, they specifically ask, do you have permanent work authorization?
Yes.
And yeah, so I'm still
Hmm.
amongst the pool of,
You're an international student,
yeah,
right?
international students. Yeah. So my regret is that three schools where I probably should have put more time, but I did not, and those were Michigan, Garden, and Duke, and I just rushed and submitted my application without really.
So don't kill yourself in Michigan,
Yeah.
because Michigan will not look at your application unless and until you had a 750.
That's what I heard later on. I mean, I was waitlisted by Michigan.
Yeah, they were.
So
They,
yeah,
so yeah, don't. Yeah. So
yeah.
if
That's
you
what I heard.
actually get a 760 right now, take another attempt, they might still admit you.
No, I'm pretty
I'm
much.
just telling you
Yeah,
about
yeah,
Michigan.
absolutely. No, but Michigan waitlisted me, and then I called the admissions office, and they said that your GMAT score is low compared to other Indian applicants. And I
Yeah.
said, okay, at least they were,
I
straightforward.
am actually surprised they're now saying this. I mean, we were told not to. I mean, they tell this to us when we meet them every year, but I'm surprised they're telling this to you, which is interesting.
Oh yeah, no, because I actually knew the assistant director. I met him at a few networking events.
Hmm.
Michael Ripley, or I forgot his
Okay.
last name. So I knew him, and I told him
Hmm.
that, hey, I was waitlisted. Can you tell me if there was one reason? He didn't exactly say that, okay, it was your GMAT score, but he said that we like our competitor, our pool, to have a higher GMAT score, especially because Indian applicant pool is competitive. So I got the point. That's what he was saying. Uh, I'm currently waitlisted from Yale School of Management.
That's a good place.
That's a good place too. And I've had interviews at Kellogg and Tuck. So we'll see. At Kellogg, I'm not really hoping
Tuck
much.
would be amazing.
Yeah, but I'm because Kellogg is extremely competitive. So I'm not really hoping
No,
for.
I mean, I having visited Tuck, having read about both Tuck and Kellogg. I mean, Kellogg's an amazing school.
Oh,
I just
it's.
love the fact that Tuck's a small school. It's right. I mean, it's in a remote place. You used
Oh
to
yeah.
this
Yep.
is
Yep.
so, but I think the culture of the school is really amazing.
Absolutely.
The other piece which is there is so you're not old enough, but I am. During the
Oh, I'm.
2003, 2004 crisis, 2008, 2009 crisis,
Yeah.
despite Tuck being remote, it still had pretty much full employment out of its graduating class.
Absolutely. Yep.
So
And
very strong alumni relationship.
extremely strong alumni relationship. And I know, I mean, after going to Tuck, I realized why for Tuck it is a big deal that you need to come to Hanover to interview, because
It's a big deal, yes.
yeah, because a lot of people apply to Tuck without realizing how remote it is. And I mean, it was not really that remote for me because I worked in
Yes.
places which are way more remote than that. But for a lot of people who have never left the cities or the comforts of cities,
When did you visit Tuck?
it was in November.
So had they already inaugurated their new building?
Uh, no, I don't believe so. I mean,
Okay.
I saw the old building, and I mean, they gave me a tour of the campus, and it was fantastic. But are you talking about the Reeves Energy Center?
They were their main building. They were good. They were building a new one out of it with. So I visited Talk last year in June,
Okay.
and then the main building was still like um, Victorian architecture. If I were
Yeah,
to,
I think it's still the
it's
same.
still Victorian architecture. It was fantastic. It's like, why the hell are you guys building a new one? It was no,
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
more energy efficient. Blah 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 blah. I was like, okay, I like
Exactly.
this
Yep.
one.
Well, it's the same reason why Kellogg's had a new building, and
Okay,
Kellogg's
that
new
is
building
a big
is
investment.
just
Yeah.
outstanding. I mean, it's probably the best business school I've ever visited. So,
I'll be visiting Kellogg this year, so
oh yeah, you have to. I mean, you will see it's outstanding. It's right along Lake Michigan, and it's fantastic. So yeah, I'm waiting to hear back from Tuck and Kellogg, and I have applied at London Business School too, but in their second round, so I would know if I'm shortlisted for an interview yet or not. But the reason primarily why I chose Rice over UNC was, I mean, ranking wise, they are similar. In most rankings, UNC is slightly better.
you would say Business Week Rice came up last year. Was it
Yeah,
one rank above Kellogg? So
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I just think it was an outlier. I still
It is,
believe
it is, it
Kellogg
is, it is
is
an outlier, yes.
yeah, it's a much better business school than Rice. But given my background in energy, and I have a lot of network in Houston, a lot of my friends.
I can see that, yes. Having worked for Honeywell, having visited Houston as many times as I have, I can imagine that.
Yeah, so just my whole profile was, bound to give me more dividends from Rice.
I can see
And
that, yes.
yeah, and having, attended school in the US, when I went to Penn State, I realized that the key in the US is either to have either an outstanding brand or an outstanding location.
I would say location is way more important because of the amount of networking opportunities that you.
Exactly. And UNC, I visited UNC's campus, and I pretty much felt the same way I felt at Penn State. I mean, it's a great brand and a decent location, but
Yes.
not one of the two factors is strong enough to, really help me out with employment, especially in the current scenario.
And the Texas economy will is always going to remain.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
So
it's like mechanical engineering as an engineering branch. It's
yeah, right. So with my background and then the scholarship and then everything, I thought that it's
$44,000 a year, right?
yeah.
That's a lot of money. I
So
mean,
yeah, so I don't have to pay a whole lot to get through
mm,
with the school.
yes.
So all these factors considered, I decided to go ahead with Rice, and then
So you've decided you're still waiting for Tuck and Kellogg, and
so I paid their deadline was 25th of
you
January,
paid
so I
what?
paid the deposit,
Was it $2,000? What was it like?
$2,500. Yeah.
That's fine.
It's yeah. I mean, if I get into Kellogg or Tuck, I probably would go with whichever one
I
goes.
I would do that. Yes.
Yeah, but besides that, the I mean, with UNC and Rice ranking wise, they're similar, and
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
not that.
I would go. I've visited UNC as well,
Yeah,
and I agree with your assessment. I think that's very objective.
yeah. Especially Rajat, with the the uncertainty about immigration and visas.
It's not so much for you.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to. UNC is also a great school. If
Mm.
they would have given me scholarship as much as Rice did, I probably might have gone to UNC.
Mm.
But with the blanket security that I have, the comfort that I have, knowing that I don't have to graduate with a humongous
Huge
student
loan,
loan,
yes.
that makes a big difference for me.
Yeah, and the other piece which is there is energy is still big in Canada as well, and
Yeah.
the rice networking I think would also work in Canada, and Canada is pretty good with visas right now. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I actually met a lot of people at Rice who had the same background as I had. They worked for Schlumberger or Halliburton,
Mhm.
and then they transition into either consulting or energy financing, and
Yes.
that's kind of what I was hoping for.
Mhm.
So that really helped me. They reassured me that this is a good place, and they told me the new dean at Rice is actually he's a very renowned professor from Darden. I was not
Okay.
aware of him. His name is Dr. Rodriguez, and he was one of the best professors at Darden. And then he came over to Rice, I think a couple of years ago, and he has really changed things and put Rice on, yeah, on the
Maybe
right.
the improvement in ranking and the employment, because the ranking was driven by employers' votes.
Yep, employers.
Always. That's a
Exactly.
very big reason for anyone to choose rice.
Right. And Rice also has a small class size, so
Which
that
helps, yes.
yep. So that all those factors combined uh, helped me decide for Rice.
So I think good decision, Aditya. So I think hopefully in 6 months, you and I can have another call. You can tell me about your experience at Rice.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
I mean, I would start in September,
well,
so
so sorry.
may,
Somehow I was still, I don't know why, so about a year or so then.
yeah, absolutely. Anytime. I mean, I'm so grateful for your course, and I'm sorry if you were looking for specific answers regarding
No,
GMAT.
no, no, no. I think this is exactly what I was looking for. I wasn't looking for specific answers. It's the key thing is to understand what made people successful and
Yeah,
to propagate that piece
yeah,
overall. So I think you give some really good insights with regards to how you use the course, the way you made the error log, how you make notes, how you stayed in touch, which I think is really really important
yeah.
as we prepare.
Yeah,
And I think
one more thing which I'd like to add is I'm pretty sure everyone does that, but I wish I had used the community of GMAT Club sooner because that's something which I used on my second attempt a lot more than the
you would
first one.
be surprised how many people don't do it.
Yeah, and this is like missing out on a gold mine of help,
Yes.
because any question, if you have any official guide question that you are not satisfied with the solution, you
Hmm.
just type on GMAT Club and
Hmm.
someone would have answered that question.
Yep.
And just the amount of help people give is beyond what you would expect. And I believe that in conjunction with e-GMAT really helped me
Hmm.
solidify my concepts and understanding of verbal. So that's also one more thing
I,
that
I, I absolutely agree with that. Having said that, I think we'll have someone reach out to you to provide a review on GMAT Club. Would that be great?
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. Sounds
And,
wonderful, Aditya.
and I would email you my ESR. I'm sorry,
Yes,
I thought
please.
I had it, but
Yes, yes.
I'll email you my ESR so you can take a look at
I would love to.
whatever worked for me.
Okay. Sounds good, Aditya. Good luck. Let me know about Kellogg and Tuck when you hear from them. And
Absolutely, I
good
will.
luck for the interviews.
Thank you for all your help, and I'll keep you posted.